Tax revenue, so 9 on your side, is asking the big question, of course, why?
Tomorrow, the zoo will learn if a tax levy renewal and increase will be on the May ballot. 9 on your side receives special access to zoo operations, and our Tom McKee learned why the zoo says it needs the extra dollars. Tom.
Well, Tanya, taxpayers have helped support the zoo for 35 years, but the current levy expires at the end of this year. It's up to the Hamilton County Commissioners whether voters will actually get to decide on a renewal, perhaps in May. Now, the zoo is pushing for an increase of pennies a day, and I got a chance to visit areas the public normally doesn't see to find out why. Did you know that the water in the polar bear ponds has to be kept at 65 degrees? The standard used to be 75 degrees, but the rules changed. That meant installing chillers to cool the water and pump it to the polar bears, the penguins, the puffins, and the sea lions.
We have $600,000 in this unit, and this has been done in the last 5 years. But we're about to add another $400,000 to it, so this will be a $1 million investment.
That's one example Zoo Director Thane Maynard uses to justify a levy renewal with inflation.
We actually receive 10% less today than we did in 2008, but our expenses for the basic zoo needs of animal care, plant care, and maintenance have gone up 54%.
Consider the cost of feeding the zoo's star attraction, Fiona, and the other 1,600 animals. Their care begins at the commissary.
So it's basically a big grocery store.
Barbara Henry, the curator of nutrition, says it's not cheap.
It's $1 million a year, $1 million.
The cost of meat for the lions, tigers, and other carnivores has gone up steadily since 2010.
This sign is 8 years old, and at that time we spent $74,000 on meat. We now spend over $200,000.
When animals get sick, most head to the zoo hospital. But as they age, medicine, hospital supplies, and diagnostic testing get more expensive. Mark Campbell is director of animal health.
All those costs have increased over the last 10 years, probably 5 or 10% at least. That's kind of across the board. I think people understand that.
Right now, the zoo levy costs the owner of a $100,000 house $10 a year.
If we get the inflationary increase, it would go to $13.50. So it's less than a penny a day that we're asking for as an increase, less than 30 cents a month.
That would help maintain a facility with 80 buildings, 40% of which are over 75 years old.
We spend just in our budget over $5 million a year on maintenance.
For example, work is underway to replace underground electrical lines.
That's $2.5 million that we're spending this winter that nobody will ever see.
The reptile house roof was just replaced for $1.5 million. The elephant house needs a new roof too, and that will cost $2 million.
It's expensive to keep up these kind of iconic facilities, but it's worth it.
Now, Maynard says anyone who doubts the need for the inflation bump could contact him directly for a similar tour like the one I got. The county commissioners decide the next step tomorrow. Their choices: a May levy ballot with no increase, a May levy with inflation, or no May levy at all. In that last case, a new discussion would begin about going on the ballot during the November general election. Tanya, Craig.
All right, Tom, thanks so much for that information. Lots to talk about there.